was 18 and getting married, and I was all dressed in my wedding dress and ready to go. I was just almost flatlining, and I just felt nothing. And I would love to go back and just be a whisper in that girl's ear and say, you're going to have an amazing life.
Well, hello and welcome to Separate Bathrooms. My name's Daddo.
I'm Daddo.
We are in the depths of a Sydney lockdown. Mm-hmm. We're Zooming today. We normally have our guests in studio, and this is becoming all too frequent.
Yes.
These lockdown.
Yeah. As much as we'd love to have them in studio, it's still so great that we get to talk to this couple. We are talking about and talking to Narelda Jacobs and Stevie Cruz-Martin. Super excited to speak to this incredible couple. Narelda is a proud Whadjuk Noongar woman and the newest member of Studio 10 team, joining the show in January 2020 as a panellist and a roving reporter. Before coming on board, she was the presenter of 10 News First in Perth for over a decade. She's got so many things to her name. She's such an activist. She's also a patron of the Motor Neuron Disease Association. She's also an ambassador for Count Me In for the Disability Service Commission and Breast Cancer Care in Western Australia.
Narelda's partner is Stevie Cruz-Martin. She's a cinematographer. She's a director. I just saw the trailer of her new show that she's done, shot in Tasmania. It's called The Tailings. It's a murder mystery. It looks amazing.
Amazing.
I mean, look, I've been in Tassie. You can point your camera anywhere pretty much,
That's
and
true.
it's a great view.
Yeah, that's true.
Though she's really skilled.
Yeah, such an eye.
At her craft, and I, for one, would love to work with her. She's from WA originally. They're both from WA.
Yeah.
Well, let's stop talking about them and let's talk to them. Let's bring in Narelda and Stevie into the bathroom.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. We're loving it.
Thanks for having us.
Well, it's a rainy old day in Sydney and we're all in lockdown. So what better to do than to talk to two gorgeous ladies like yourself? How perfect.
And we've got our Ugg boots on. We're very comfy.
We're looking a bit more professional up here.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, party up the top and comfy down the bottom. Listen, we're so glad to have the both of you in here, and it's a love story that I just think needs to be told. So tell us, how did the two of you meet?
Well, this is a story that Stevie tells exceptionally well, so I'm going to let her tell it.
That's high level.
I'll start it off. We were both out on, it's just a random Friday night. We were both out with our respective friends. I'd just been to an art exhibition. A friend, photographer friend, had an exhibition, and so I just had gone from that, and we kicked on to a bar. And so I go up to the bar to order a drink.
Mm.
And
yes, I must preface this with there was a lot of drinks. I was slightly intoxicated, and I walked into a bar, and I did see Jacobs, and I knew who she was. And I went up to the bar and, stood beside her, ordered my drink, and, we shared a look, or I thought we shared a look. And then, I went back out to my friends and I said, oh, my God, Narelda Jacobs is in the bar. And one of my friends said, Stevie, do not go there. She's been in a long-term relationship. And I was like, yep, okay, leaving it. And a couple hours later, and I was in the bathroom. I was going into the bathroom. She was coming out, and there was a look, and I thought to myself, there's no way that this woman is with someone. And I was far too cocky and confident. I thought, I'm going to wait outside. And I waited until she came out, and then she stood in front of me. And we must have just stood in front of each other, just looking at each other for some time. And I said, will you have a drink with me? And she said, yes. And then I said, well, you're going to have to find me first. And then I just ran out of the bar. I just ran. I just ran because I thought I'd have to make some sort of big, gesture. And then Jacob said she spent the next 20 minutes in a very busy bar going around looking for me, shaking people's heads. Are you her? Are you her? And then finally we found each other.
Yeah.
Where did you go? Where did you go, Stevie? Where did you run to?
There's an outdoor area at this place, Pika Bar in Perth, and there's an outdoor area, but it's quite dark out there. And so I was just left standing going, oh, my God, who is that? And then I went back to my friends and I was like, I just met someone. It's really amazing. I've got to go and find her, because that's what she said. And so I literally went around in the dark, and because I had had a few drinks as well, I needed to get quite close to people. Oh,
God.
And then I eventually found Stevie, and that was pretty much it, actually. Yeah, we really, that was it.
So
Yeah,
you had the drink and that was it? You kind of went, all right, let's swap numbers, and away you went from there?
Oh, no. I asked her if she wanted to go for a walk. And so we went for a walk around sort of like the streets of Northbridge and Perth. And then, yes, we kind of were quite inseparable from then.
That's beautiful. And you've been together how long now?
Oh, it's
2.5 years.
Yeah.
3 years in October.
Yeah.
So was it pretty clear early on that you guys were like, there was something really special in the relationship for both of you?
Yeah, that first night we just talked and talked. And that's why we were inseparable, because we just talked the entire night.
Yeah, we did.
And then the entire next night, and then the next night after that, so it was just all of these conversations and just comparing our lives and realising that we were kind of living parallel lives in terms of being true to our purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, and we both realised that we wanted the best for ourselves and kind of, even in those really early days, the best for each other. And
there's something special in elevating each other like that, especially when we're in different industries but similar in terms of sort of media and entertainment. And I think that was really special, being with someone that wants the best for you and wants to elevate you and has similar dreams to you. But I think as well, when we first met, the other reason why I knew it was something special was because I had been planning to leave Perth. I had lived in other cities before and I was ready. I was kind of like, I need another move. And I was just like, everyone stay away. I'm a single woman. That is it. And then when you know, because you're willing to stay somewhere.
Yeah.
You're supposed to.
So back to outside of the bathroom when you were just staring at each other. Take us through that moment again, because I was right in with you. I did not want to say a word. I was like, this is such a sexy story.
It was almost like a physical challenge. Can you maintain my gaze? Can you maintain my direct eye contact? Because that's what it was. That's what it was like. But it was also intoxicating in itself.
Yes, there was a lot being said without using words, and I think that's what was really special. There was obviously an energy there, and also, I mean, look at her. She's beautiful. And, it was a beautiful moment.
Well, you're both very beautiful, and how amazing that. You can't do what you did on a cell phone.
No.
Swiping left and right. I think that's what was so heartening to hear with that story is that you two, we hear so much about, social media and meeting on dating sites and stuff like that. It was such an anomaly to hear a great story like that of two people actually meeting in a bar, which is what we used to do in the 90s. Elle and I met in a bar, in 1990, or a party, and yes, we're a little bit inebriated and all that sort of stuff. Same kind of thing. But it was just what a beautiful story. I mean, you talk about the energy and the swapping of energy. Was it could you say it was love at first sight?
Yeah, I think once we got talking and I realised that Stevie was in the film industry and we kind of was comparing notes about different events and things, like we'd realised we'd been in the same room as each other before, but we'd never met. And we kind of knew people in the same sort of circles, but we had never met. And so it was just, it was almost like the penny dropped, like how did we never meet? And it kind of, our lives led us to that point of meeting when we were both ready to meet.
And I probably, I think for me though, I knew who Narelda was. I think though, in terms of that love at first sight, actually being in the same space physically together, there was an energy there. I would say that was love. But I had definitely knew who she was before, and that was also really special because there is this interesting thing where I've shared with so many of our friends. When I was growing up as well, what Jacob stood for was, the first LGBT, queer Aboriginal woman on mainstream TV. And I was a pretty empowered woman growing up, and that was always just floored me. And I was always just to see you was incredible. But then it was a completely different experience actually meeting and getting to know one another.
Yeah, you started dating your hero in a way.
Yeah, and it sounds weird. It really, we often laugh about this at dinner parties. People are like, okay, Stevie, that's odd. But it's, at first it was, and I don't like to shy away from those things. I told her straight up. I wasn't going to sit there and pretend that I didn't know what an impact she would have had and still has on the LGBT community in the country. And, I think we should share more about all of those things that we love about people in our lives.
Absolutely.
Stevie, you did the tailings, and we've seen the trailer. We actually haven't seen the show yet, but just to be involved in that sort of thing, what a privilege that is.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a beautiful show, and so lucky to have SBS sort of be the first broadcaster that I'd worked for. I feel really blessed to have had them, and just a great team of women, heads of departments, and a beautiful writer down there on the island in Tasmania. Yeah, it was beautiful. A hard time. It was during the pandemic last year, COVID. It was SBS's first show to get up after that. But I feel really lucky.
You're being humble, and you're very modest. Stevie is the director that everybody loves working with, and at the end of a production, everyone will be in tears and crying tears of joy that their experience on set was such a beautiful one because you've made
probably
it.
Similar to Cam, like sets they can be family. For me, that's something that I really try to prioritize. You're going to spend so much time with these people. You're going to build these relationships with them. I really love what I do, and I do feel a privilege to be able to direct. So I try to make it as family centric and fun and loving, but also peel back those layers and do some really deep work as much as we can as well.
I'm inspired. Can you put me in your next one? At least audition me. Let me have a crack.
For you, Narelda, were you actually poached out of Perth for Studio 10? Did they actually come calling for you?
Well, this is where the timing of when we got together was really at the perfect time in both of our lives, because I'd never lived anywhere else but Perth.
Yeah.
But I had come over to Sydney on the occasion over the a couple of years before that, just to fill in here and there, reading the bulletin over Christmas time, filling in on Studio 10 for various people, but just little bits and pieces, going to the project in Melbourne. And I started to enjoy it. I started to enjoy sharing my opinions and not even realising that I had opinions to share. Because as a newsreader, you're not meant to, there's no room for opinion as a newsreader. So it wasn't, when I met Stevie, I had just done 2 weeks in Sydney filling in on Studio 10 and really loved it, and I was still buzzing from it. And so all those conversations that we had was always around, what's next, where do you really want to be? Like for both of us, where do you really want to be? And sort of asking of each other, well, why aren't you doing it, And so time went, and then I was starting to, the opportunities were starting to kind of run a little dry because it was just too far to go at the drop of a hat. Say a shift needed to be filled, and so they'd get someone for over here.
Yeah.
One day I came home from work and said to Stevie, look, this is the reason that this time fell through. And we kind of just said to each other, we've just got to go. Yeah. So it was a decision that was made just like that, but after a lot of discussion about it, and we just decided in one conversation, let's leave. And so we're like, are we making a decision right now? And so then I went to work and told one of the bosses, and it was a process of about 6 months for arrangements to be made and things. So that's how it all came about. But it was something that came from the union between Stevie and I. I don't know if I would have done it just on my own. I don't know. That's too much of a hypothetical.
Yeah.
But we encourage each other to do it.
How has the transition been? It's a big thing to move.
Yeah, it was, well, definitely, Jacobs hadn't lived in any other city. That was big. And she comes from a really beautiful, big family in WA. There's 5 girls and you're really close with your mom, and she has her daughter, Jade. That was big,
And also just the whole community of this really strong community, which I didn't actually realise how precious that was until I left.
Yeah.
And look back and all the work and all the amazing things that are going on there, and pulling together a community like that, but here. And so that's been beautiful to do that while we've been here.
Stevie, when you met and fell in love with Narelda, did racism that still exists in Australia, did that become even more highlighted for you? I always tell this story. When our son came out as gay, it was like my level of homophobic talk became so extreme, of like hearing it all the time. Did you find that when you fell in love with Narelda, that hearing more of the racism? Or
definitely, and because you're listening more to those stories and to Jade, and you're closer. You don't have the lived experience, but you're closer to people that are living that every single day, many times a day, and just seeing it, and also really noticing your own privilege, and being open to having those very uncomfortable but very necessary conversations with so many people in your life. Yeah, definitely.
Stevie has nursed me many a time, and not so much when we first got together, because I was very cotton wool in Perth, being that newsreader and not sharing opinions. And it wasn't really until we came over here and during the height of BLM in particular, it really came to a head in this country. And I'd seen a side of Australia that I'd never really experienced in a personal way before, just by the fact of saying things that weren't popular. I don't know, and holding the mirror to the country. And people didn't take very kindly to it. I think that for us as a couple, that was a big challenge for us as a couple, because Stevie was having to be the arms that I came home to and the shoulder to lean on. And, you were so amazing during that time.
No, well, you only, to see that as a partner and to see what Jacobs was going through, purely, living who she is and standing up for such an important and big part of our population, and just being ridiculed and taken down constantly. It's there's just so much further that our country has to go. Absolutely. So much further. You don't let it take you down though, because you realise you are the one standing for that every day. Every day. Just her doing what she does and being on the platform she's on is just so vital. But it was it takes a lot out of your relationship, of course, because you're hurting and you're angry, and often when those things happen, you take them out on the people that are closest to you. Not that Jacobs is an angry person, but it was upsetting her. And there's nothing worse than you don't want your loved one to hurt and be going through that pain. And so that was difficult. It was difficult because you want to fix it.
With the BLM, the Black Lives Matter movement, Narelda, are you finding that are you getting enough support there, or is there more to change there within the community?
Oh, yeah. That's the beauty of it. Social media, and this is something else Stevie introduced me to, Instagram.
It's a love-hate relationship.
Oh, wow. We should talk about that.
I was like, I don't need Instagram. And Stevie's like, you really need to get on Instagram.
Yeah.
And, because you hear so many negative things about it, but it's a place of empowerment for an incredible community of people that are just all about sharing information and sharing tools, resources, and educating, and also just sharing love. And that is what I'm most thankful for social media providing me, because we're now connected, dynamic, Black, outspoken, just people who want to change the world have all come together, and we are a really tight unit, and we will be the first to support each other, but also to encourage each other, because something that's really becoming so apparent is that it's not enough to be an ally. You have to be anti-racist. And so we also hold each other to account, and that cultural accountability is so important, because if we're going to change the world, we can't just stand together. We have to stand and then move forward together, So and that's what's so beautiful. So there is a really strong community of people,
and that education continues to change.
Yeah.
Constantly.
And actually, Stevie, a lot of the time, is the one to do the introductions on socials.
Yeah,
because you've got your
so many great people. That's same thing. Just the connection that you can find through social media has been beautiful.
I actually lifted something from your Instagram, Stevie, because the way you write about Narelda is so beautiful on your social media. And if I can quote something that you said, you wrote, "This woman, she's all things golden. Every day she carries more than she should have, but her heart stays open. The cutest dreamboat I've ever known." I just was like, oh my gosh, I love public displays of affection. I just love that. And I was like, oh, it's so beautiful. And I think that, I think that more couples should do that, should have more display of public affection.
Yes. Thank you. Words of affirmation, language of love, right? There. And but Jacobs is the other, she's affection, and I don't know, I feel when I love someone and when I love things, when I love people, I like to share about it. And it's so easy to share about her and all of the wonderful things she's doing and that I get to be a part of.
What would you guys like to see change in Australia to grow? And that could be in terms of same-sex partnership. It could be the way we treat our Indigenous folk or anybody I heard this term in another podcast of otherizing. It's like, which is separating yourself, going, oh, that couldn't be me. I wouldn't do that. It's always someone else. It's always others doing it. And the fact that we are simply humans together, and that's the way we need to be seeing each other. I agree with that. What do you guys see moving forward needs to change in Australia? We
all have to relate to something, don't we? And I think, change starts with ourselves probably first. And then you kind of look the people closest to you, and then you look kind of beyond and to see, what more you can do. But I think it's really important just for people to understand their own privilege for starters, and not in kind of a braggy way, but to recognise that because of the choices that you have in life, that's why you are where you are. And understanding that people don't have the same choices as you, but they are as far as you, and that sort of thing. I just think that's really important as a starting point, that we understand why we are where we are and where we've come from to be there, and how we can help other people, how we can help lift other people, and use our own privilege for good,
Yes. And I completely agree with that, and also think I would just love to see more diverse leaders across all sectors in powerful positions and places of leadership. Because that's when you really start to see the change again of that trickle down effect, and and obviously in my industry, seeing more of our multicultural community reflected on our screens, it makes you feel safer, more heard, more seen if you can see yourself there.
I'd also like for people to have a bit more compassion and understanding when people call out racism, because the first thing that people usually do is defend and attack.
Yep.
But imagine if you don't defend, you just listen.
Yeah.
And you just kind of
take it on.
Yeah, I mean, an example of this is the Euro Championship, the penalty shots that were taken, and the racist abuse that were hurled at those players, and it wasn't even that racist abuse wasn't just in Europe. It happened here, and it happened in one of our commercial networks. A headline that was used, and that was that went on social media that caused so much offence. And it's like, don't sort of defend that. Just get to the bottom of it, because it wasn't, from what I'm hearing, it wasn't accidental. And so you've got to weed it out. You've got to weed out the issue so that equality matters.
Yeah. I think Australia could do with a female Prime Minister and an Indigenous Prime Minister and perhaps an LGBTQ. So, Narelda, when are you going into politics?
Hey, I'm putting the money on you. Yeah.
I think it's time. I think Prime Minister Jacobs. I love the sound of it.
But politics comes knocking sometimes, and I'm like, babe, please just wait like at least another 10 or 15 years.
I know. What a field, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be more like, just stay where you do what you do and continue what you do, and then later on when you're ready to rock and roll and become that, because I think you'd be fabulous too. I think you're a great teime.
Yeah, totally.
I really do. And
it's so lovely to chat to both of you as well.
We're not quite done yet because Ali and I get along well. We do argue though. We didn't in the first few years of our first decade of our marriage, and we ran into problems because I don't think we didn't argue very much. And I think that's more about communication. What do you do when you have disagreements? How do you evolve those? How do you get through them? And do you?
When we first got together, it was bad because she's a runner and I need to talk this out. And this, she had her way of dealing and I had my way of coping. But for me, it had to be a communication and just be like, I don't think we can keep going if we keep dealing in this way. I know that you're scared. I know that's why you run, but I also feel like, I need to be heard. And for me, look, I've been in a couple other relationships and one that was not so good. And I learned a lot from that. And so for me going forward, it's like I like to put everything out there and I talk about it even when she doesn't want to talk about it.
Stevie takes things to a very uncomfortable level very quickly, and I only since we've been together, this is highlighted to me that I have a communication problem.
Isn't that funny? Because here you are, you're on TV communicating ideas, asking people to speak up and their point of view, and here you are admitting that you have your own issues with it.
Yes. I would know how I feel and the emotions that I'm feeling, but I wouldn't always know why, and I wouldn't know how to articulate them. And that's why I would sometimes run, is because it's like I don't want to confront things. So especially if I just leave and go for a power walk or, just remove myself for a bit and then come back and then it'll be fine, but you still wouldn't have communicated anything of what you were feeling. But Stevie had just this incredible way of recognising when things were about to bubble up. And I didn't even recognise that within myself. And you actually stop me and say, what's going on? And I'm like, nothing's going on. What's going on? And just start coming at it through all these different angles until you found the spot where you could just go and get all the stuff out, and then it was just talked about. But I've never experienced that with anyone else in my entire life. And so I'm just like, who are you?
It must be the psychology of directing or something. I don't know.
Narelda, you're with a woman who is paid to watch people. She and not only watch them, but look at their body language and discern what their body is saying and pick up the cues. That's why she's such a good director. So of course she's going to bring that into the relationship.
Yeah,
I'm curious about the running, because what do you hide her sneakers before, as you see it? You can see her like hiding her. I'm going to hide her sneakers so she doesn't run anymore.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? I had to also really learn that I have to relinquish control as well sometimes, to be like, she might not be ready now, and I can't get all of the answers I want straight away. That was my lesson as well, to, notice that, okay, she's maybe not being authentic, she's not being real, she's not seeing what's going on, but that she takes a little bit longer than me, and that is perfectly fine, and I have to stop being so pushy.
Yeah.
So it was there was a good dance there for.
I am also in my head a bit, and so much so that Stevie will make conversation, she'll say something, and then I won't say anything. And then just recently, she's gotten to saying, "You can ask a question now." And she'd be like, "Okay, so this is the part where you say something back to me."
And I'm like, because obviously your job, you're constantly talking, but we also need to make sure that we're having a conversation now here too, right? Like, we can't just come through the door and just be nothing. I'm in love.
Yeah.
But, so I think it's also, though, because she just forgets that she's just not saying it out loud.
Yeah, I'm not saying it out loud.
Maybe you didn't say anything.
I'm kind of saying it in my head, and I'm already
clearly you're getting used to being on TV, and you've got that earpiece in your head, and someone's talking to you, and you've got your notes, but you've got the earpiece, and so Stevie's your earpiece.
Yes, that's exactly.
All right, you guys, we do a thing at the end of every podcast where we call it the 2-minute shower, and we like to conserve water, so we have quick answers. So we ask you a series of questions, which we'd like each of you to answer. Here we go for question number 1. What the world needs now is?
Understanding.
Anti-racist.
Love it. A perfect day looks like?
Sunshine.
Ooh, creativity. Yeah, creativity, love, time together. Yeah, time together.
What's your favourite attribute of your partner?
Oh, it's just one.
Her like gentle and kind spirit. She's very, very gentle, very kind.
Stevie sees you. She sees you. She sees into your soul, and she sees everything about you. So yeah, she sees you.
Kind of scary.
Oh yeah, I know. I was going to say, ooh, horror.
Who is funnier?
We both have moments of being weird and doing odd things. But
I don't see yet. I don't know. Stevie.
I think, yeah.
What do you most want in the world to change?
Oh, yeah.
Well, discrimination. I think discrimination in all its forms. I think that covers it.
Yeah. So is there one time in your life that you would like to revisit? Not necessarily to do over, but that could be it as well, but a special moment in your life that you'd like, I just want to go back and visit that time again?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I mean, there was one time where it's not a quick story though. That's the problem. It was when I was 18 and getting married, and I was all dressed in my wedding dress and ready to go. But I was just almost flatlining. I just felt nothing, and I would love to go back and tell that girl, like, well, I don't know if life is going to be. You are going to have an amazing life, and just back yourself a bit.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I'd love to just go back and just be a whisper in that girl's ear and say, you're going to have an amazing life.
I'm not a big person on regret, actually. There's nothing I would change. I wouldn't go back to like a moment and change, because I do kind of feel like then I probably wouldn't be here right now with you and talking to you both.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I might leave it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not out to that bathroom moment again. You would.
We try to recreate that every few months.
Okay, one word to describe each other.
It's compassionate. I don't know.
Powerful.
Yeah.
She's powerful. You're powerful.
I think you're both powerfully compassionate people.
Aww.
And it's just been such a pleasure. I mean, I know we're out of time, but it would be so great to continue. And I hope we get to see you down the road and hang out. in any
It
way.
would be so nice to properly, catch up with you one time. And when lockdown is no longer, have a drink or something and get to talk about you guys and your family.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really delightful.
Well,
Thank you.
continued success to both of you. I think the partnership, as you say, you support each other so beautifully, and you can only go from strength to strength there in all aspects of your life when you've got someone next to you that you love as much as you do. So thank you so much for your time, and happy lockdown for however much longer we've got, really.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Who knows?
Well,
Yeah.
Thanks,
Fingers
Steve.
crossed we get out of it soon. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you
guys.
so much. It was great chatting.
Wow. What an inspirational, beautiful couple of women right there.
Just a power couple.
Yeah.
Literally a power couple. As I said, I love the way they met.
I know. I never get tired of hearing people's stories about that first moment as well. And I loved the point that you made, that it wasn't, in the world of dating apps, which work for a lot of people, and there's not disparaging that at all.
Yep.
Just when you said that, I was like, yeah, you're right. It's the old-fashioned way. It's the old go to the pub and meet someone's eye across the way, and starts from there.
Have that feeling of excitement.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Just beautiful.
Yeah.
And look, they're both doing their part in the world, and
Yeah, important work.
very important work
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
both same-sex relationships, also for Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
And just great to hear their story. We'll be back with another episode of Separate Bathrooms next week. And in the meantime, you can hit us up on Instagram. I'm at Cameron-Daddo.
Daddo for me.
And we have our Separate Bathrooms Facebook group too, which you can join. So hit us up there.
Thanks so much for listening.